Sunday Live. Welcome, everybody. It's me. It's your brother from another mother, bringing you a live broadcast today to help walk with you in all things mental, emotional, and relationship health. So welcome to this broadcast. Take a seat, chill out, or if you're outside or if you're going for a drive, make sure you keep your eyes on the road. But I pray that what we share today will bring some heaven into the hell of messes that sometimes we find ourselves in and the battlegrounds that we face and the stuff that we're working through. And I think it's important that we be able to talk through the battlegrounds that people face while rooting our lives in the love of the Father and the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. And that's what I commit myself to doing on a regular basis. Got lots of questions here that I'm going to walk through, check out, navigate, give some feedback on, providing we try to do everything within the lens of compassionate grace to see your journey through that, but also find some empowering insights that can help you along the way. Do me a favor, click that like and subscribe button. That helps us out a whole lot. We're on our way to 100,000 subscribers. That's really great. And I appreciate all those of you that support this channel, support the broadcast, both on YouTube, Rumble, and we're also broadcasting in Facebook as well. Looking forward to some new things I'm going to be launching that I wanted to let you know up front. One is the release of my latest book, which will hopefully, we're at the last stages. I have a proof that's coming in. This was one proof that was coming in, The Myth of the Perfect One. As you see, there's this big stripe across it. This is not for resale. This is a proof. It is just about ready. We're making some couple final adjustments, get new proof sent out, inspected, blah, 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 all that. So I hope to have something for you all sometime this week. I did commit to April being the launch, and doggone it, I think April ends, Wednesday? So I hope I do plan, but if it takes a little longer, that's okay too. But this is the working book cover that is there, and you can check that out. But I will have more information for you very, very soon on how you can get a hold of it. I plan on releasing it on paperback, Kindle, audiobook, and hardcover as well too. It's all about the journey of relationship OCD. I find it to be a helpful read. It's got questions. It's got ways that you can work through, because it is a work, taking a journey through those distortions. Of course, the book, The OCD Healing Journey, gives you the overall journey wherever your compulsive, obsessive patterns go. This is going to give you a powerful roadmap on learning to navigate through that journey effectively. So please get a copy of that, and do me a favor, write a review on if it's been helpful to you. And also, I've got more material I'm going to be doing on trauma. I have something in the hopper where I want to talk about some fundamental Christian, biblical-based practices we can use in our mental health healing journey from trauma. And then I'll also give some feedback on my journey and some Christian approaches, some of my honest feedback on it and what has I've felt not been helpful, and just giving you some pointers on that, some recommendations on that as well too. I'm also going to continue the First John series again soon, but I wanted to spend some extra time talking about the concept that John talked about, loving the world. Do not love the world and the things of the world, the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. And I wanted to take some time to break that down, because most of us have been given distorted representations on what that means and what it looks like. A lot of legalism that gets infused into that. So there'll be a broadcast on that coming up as well. So a lot happening, and there's no way that I could do what I do, be where I am, without the love of my life, all that I cling to, and more than this world to me. Ladies and gentlemen, the love of my life, and that's not codependency talking. Melissa De Jesus is here in the house.
Well, hello.
Welcome, my love. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, actually.
That's great.
Yeah, how are you?
I was just spending a little bit of time in our fire pit. I don't get enough time in the fire pit.
The smell is, I love that smell.
Yeah, if people were here around us, they would be smelling a lot.
They would leave with their hair smelling like. Yeah,
that's true.
I had to go to Lowe's this morning, and you went to Starbucks with the kids, and so I was like, oh, let me scoop. We have one of those.
Little
what's it called?
Fire
the
pit.
Brie, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They have a couple different brands. Anyway, so I was like, oh, let me scoop some of the stuff that's in there in the bottom so that we can do a fire today. And then it was still warm, so it was like blowing at my face, so I left smelling like it.
I don't spend enough time there, and I need to.
We do.
And this
It's
afternoon,
so-
before I was going through some questions and stuff, and I said, you know what? I need to just take some time to just sit there. The sun was out. It was warm, but it was still chilly.
It's still a little cool. It's nice.
Yeah, so it was a good mixture. So after we're done, I'm headed back over there.
I love it.
Although I did get some ash thrown on me, so if you see some ash on me,
Oh, I didn't check you. I didn't check your hair.
it's all right.
You're all right.
It's all right.
They
There was
look
a
like
wave of
dandruff.
it that went. It's always an adventure. So, got a lot of good questions we're getting into.
Awesome.
New book that's coming out.
I'm so excited.
New broadcast, new stuff. May is going to be a jam-packed month with a lot of resources, materials, and things.
Yes. We are so excited. It's been a long road of getting this book out, but it's awesome.
It is. It really is.
You can hear Levi. He got a new ID tag. Every time I order one from Amazon, he finds a way in scratching, rips it off, and breaks it. So we're on like our fourth or fifth one. He's over there making himself comfortable.
You all right?
Yep. He just wants to be near me.
Yeah.
So he's good.
Speaking of healing and freedom, he needs it.
He does, actually.
Meanwhile, we got all kinds of things in family and our journey. We did a bunch of yard work yesterday, and
So great.
lots happening. Abby's in school. Max is doing awesome with his artwork.
He is. Oh, I have a good story from this week. Do
Yeah.
you want me to tell it?
If you want.
Okay. Yes, but also we got all of our flowers. I feel like I end up going and spending way too much on flowers, but I'm over it in as far as like putting together. I used to buy all the little separated ones and create different things, but I'm good. And honestly, it comes out to be the same price. So I just bought a ton of flowers and I love it.
It looks beautiful, by the way.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so Max. So Max does watercolor and drawing classes, which I've started taking watercolor, and I posted to the lady who teaches both classes she's a love muffin. If you've been with me for a while, you know I like to kind of give little like pet names for people, meaning that just like very sweet, comfy lady to be around. She's just like a muffin. She's cozy, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, love her. She's so encouraging. She's great. So she's been encouraging me to be in classes. Well, I'm in the class, but to take the watercolor class. So I have officially been taking the watercolor class, and I love it. Anyway.
You should have brought some of your work. You've actually put together some nice work there.
I'm starting, and let me tell you, we have a friend who has a huge art. He's an artist, and he has a huge online presence, and he does a lot with artists and heart healing with artists, and he's just an amazing guy. And I never really understood using art as part of healing and those kinds of things. Well, she's been sharing stories of people that come in and are in phases of their life and need healing and have been doing art and it's healing. Anyway, I'm understanding this now.
Yeah.
Now that I'm taking the watercolor class, I can see where people use art to focus in on it and express themselves. Anyways, that's not the story. The story is that at drawing class, Max has a couple people in his class this time around. And we're always chatting and just, having different conversations or whatever. Well, let me preface this by saying that I absolutely love the teacher. But as you know, a lot in the art world, they have a more
there's a lot of liberal ideas and stuff.
Thank you. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and so do a couple other people in the class, which is fine. I don't care. I can hang with anybody. Okay. So, we're chatting about animals and different kinds of things. And they keep with evolution, and they kind of keep throwing out these things. Well,
which if I could jump in for a second.
Go ahead.
Max, for a long time, has had quite a battle with the subject of evolution because so many nature things, documentaries, they're all filling in the blanks with evolution as far as like, the origin and stuff like that. And he wrestled with it, and he would struggle. And we've spent years just encouraging him, seek God in this, read the Bible, come to conclusions. So he's come to some really strong convictions on this now.
Correct.
In believing in creation and so forth. So anyway, with that in mind.
Yes. So a conversation came up, a kind of conspiracy theory kind of conversation. So I gave my input on it. I'm not going to say because I don't want to I'm not going to say what it is. We kind of were going back and forth. And then again, they were kind of looking at me like I was a little crazy. And I was like, whatever. And I kind of explained myself. And then I felt like they were infusing the word evolution
into everything,
kind of into the atmosphere a little bit more. Mm-hmm. It just felt a little like, okay, clearly I'm like not in that camp. Well, one of the other kids in the class, actually I shouldn't say kid, he's an adult. He said, well, I don't believe in evolution. And you could tell they were kind of like, okay, well, people have different thoughts. Okay. Anyways, I always feel in those situations, and I know a lot of you that follow us, when you're around those conversations, I'm never that kind of person to insert, well, what I believe biblically. I'm just not that kind of person. And I don't feel like it helps anything at all.
Right.
Okay. No, Dave, it's not the moon landing. However, okay. Could be adjacent to that. Anyway, so I just never feel to really interject myself. But the whole time this conversation is happening, I do have this thought of like, oh boy, is Max going to say something?
Right.
Because that's not like him to not say something.
Yeah.
Okay. He didn't, though. He was just kind of doing his thing, whatever. But one thing about Max is he's always listening and he's always taking it in.
Always
and just when you
listening.
think he's not. Okay.
Yes.
So it kind of not rattled me, but it does bug me sometimes where I feel like we have to accept what everybody else believes. And then if I brought in any faith concept, like, so even the kid that said, I don't believe in evolution, it's kind of like, well, poo-poo on you. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
That's how it feels. That's
sure.
how it feels. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we leave the class and I'm dying to see what Max thinks. So as soon as we get in the car and I'm trying to just bring it up casually, I said, so Max, you know, get the bleep button ready.
Right.
So I said, so Max, so were you listening to the conversation? And he looks at me. He kind of has this look where he'll look at you and I can tell he is thinking something he was thinking. So he looks at me and I said, you know, they kind of kept bringing up evolution. And he goes, yeah, that was bull. Okay. I started dying. I didn't want to overreact. I wanted to laugh, but he literally left out. He went bull.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And he said it. And then he started laughing. And I was like, okay. So I didn't reprimand him. Whatever. I'm like, okay, he wanted to express. We kind of let him find his place of where he'll do stuff sometimes where we feel like he's upset about something he doesn't know how to express. So
Correct.
I'm not going to lie. You know, he may have heard me a time or two over the years throw out a little, because anyway,
spice,
when we got home, I tell Mark this conversation. So I say, you know, so he calls Max out. Max repeats it.
Yes.
So it was quite funny. So you go, so Max, where did you get that word from? Me or your mother? And he looks right at me. I was like, okay, listen, I'm not a potty mouth. But, you know, sometimes you get angry and things fly out of your mouth. Anyway.
It reminds me of when I know we've told this story before, but when he was in elementary school way back in Connecticut, and remember he got reprimanded because he said something. He said the B word.
Son of a witch.
So he messed up something. What was he like in third grade?
I forget.
Third grade, second grade.
He got called in. We got called in. He got reprimanded. I'm like, can we please with this?
Okay. Well, anyways, but the funny part of the story is that because Max has always since day one been a very excessive apologizer. When he does something wrong.
Oh my goodness.
But what happens is if he says something that's inappropriate, when he apologizes, he repeats the statement.
He does.
So he comes back into the class in front of all the kids and goes, hey guys, sorry I said son of a.
says it.
And he says it again. So when he apologizes, if he says a word that's inappropriate, he'll use the word again in his apology.
Very emphatically. And you just, because he's so cute. He's so sweet.
Yeah.
And you can tell when he says it, though, like there's a part of him trying to exert like being an adult when he says it.
Yeah.
And so we kind of cut him slack on it because it's like, he's not around here whipping,
right, potty
mouthing it all day. He's not.
Right.
But he has these moments every so often where to like express himself. And it was hilarious because I could tell when we were leaving. I just know him, and I'm like, so, buddy.
Yeah.
When they brought up evolution,
yeah, because know that subject bugs him a lot.
It does.
Yeah, he gets a lot of conviction under that.
It does. Yeah. So, anyway, but it goes back to where, and I said to Mark, like, so I was spinning over and over. OCDers can understand this. I was like spinning all that night. Maybe I should have said something, but I'm just not that kind of person. I don't need to argue with people. If you want to discuss with me and we have a reason, we can reason with each other and just have respect.
Right. I've had that a lot too, where a lot of the post compulsive ruminating over, maybe I should have said this, maybe I should have said that, meanwhile, it doesn't give grace to, hey, it was a bit uncomfortable. I'm just trying to be there to just work on art. And it gets
and I'm like, why do we have to have the word evolution out every 5 minutes? It's like, okay, we know where you're coming from with it, but like clearly there's other people in the room that don't feel that way. I just don't like when they do that stuff. Right. It's like this pushing into the atmosphere. I'm like, I get it. Okay. You're where you're at, but can we just respect? Because we're clearly respecting what you're saying.
Is the comment section wondering what your conspiracy topic was?
So Dave said the moon landing. What do you guys think it was? Dave said from George Costanza, the jerk store called. Right. But Lenny, right? See, people can understand what I'm talking about. So I was totally ruminating over it.
In my opinion, it's a benign topic. It was on dinosaurs. They were just you had.
Is it?
You were just.
People might.
We'll try to keep this focus today on mental health in your journey.
I just said it's a rabbit hole that if you go down, okay.
Yeah, that you were just stating that I think there's a lot of liberties in filling in the blanks, and there becomes species after species after species.
Oh, someone was going to say dinosaurs. Yeah. Okay, we're not going to get into it. However, so that's where it went, everybody. And I have opinions.
You resisted.
Alamac, I brought that fact out about the dragons. Yeah. That's where I started. I said, listen, I believe there were dragons. Anyways, we don't have to get into it. Someone wants to know what I think about other things. I'm not going there, okay? I am not going there.
In the world of conspiracy.
But I have a lot of opinions. Go ahead.
In the world of conspiracy, that's pretty benign. So
it's not, though. People get upset.
Yeah, it's true.
I said, too, it's a big money maker. People, listen, we love the movies. Mm-hmm. We love the Jurassic movies.
Yeah.
Our kid likes to draw them. I'm just
saying.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Very, very common.
Do you want to share the other story of where no?
Very common thing that you say a lot is just saying.
Just saying. JS, everybody.
The other thing, what was the other thing? I don't know.
Where you really wanted him to come out and do some yard work, and Max just could not pull it together. Yeah.
Well, in all seriousness, it's been rough trying to navigate with him because he wants to be a grown man. He wants to do adult things. Mm-hmm. And so
very much.
I have to be careful what I say around the house because he's listening. So if I go, hey, me and Max need to go work in the yard. I gotta cut some hedges, or I gotta go get the back area behind the fence, and he'll just go in the shed and start grabbing power tools and things and just start going at it.
Yeah, I think I've shared the story about the day that he was bored.
Right.
Mark was in the office, and all of a sudden I see him walking really weird across the backyard. And I'm like, Max, what do you have? He had an axe in his hand. He's like, there's some trees I want to. I'm like, but no. No.
So we had like, I had probably about at least two or three things. Because a lot of times on Saturday, if the weather's nice, that is our day to get out there.
We were freshening some mulch.
Change the channel of from working in the office. We'll get out there. It's just great for our soul. And so, but when he has, we ask him to help because we do need another hand and lifting. And then we found ourselves just like navigating a lot of stuff. He was breaking stuff in the shed. And then there was a point in time where we took a break. I said, okay, let's take a break. Let's go get a coffee. I do my midday coffee break. It's a thing I like doing, whether I get one at home or I go get one. Let's go get a coffee. We hop in the car. We go through the drive-through. I was trying to talk to a guy. I look over. He had dropped his coffee. This big coffee. There's a puddle of coffee on the floor.
And on your seat in the truck.
Abby's in the back seat like, Dad, what is going on? He's just everything, coordination, everything was just, so about 2:00.
No, this was at like 1:15.
No, I'm continuing with the story.
Oh, okay.
So around 2:00, I go, we're calling it. We're just
yes, that's true.
We're calling it. He's having a hard time. He
couldn't put it together, pull it together. Yeah. Anyway, the poor kid.
Yeah.
I go in the house because you're like, where's Max?
Yeah.
The kid thinks he's a chef. He's pulling out. He's got burgers, but he's panicking because he knows he needs to get through all this stuff to come out to us. Well, he starts yelling, wildly yelling. And I'm just standing there and I'm like, bro. He's got his hat on. He's got his thick hat with the sunglasses. He's trying to make a burger. There's mess everywhere. He's spilling. I said to Mark, there's water all over the floor. He's yelling. And when he yells, he's very frustrated, but you want to start laughing. It's like when you get mad. You want to start because you don't do it. And it looks so out of place that you want to just start laughing.
Yeah.
That's how Max...
It kind of sounds like it's out of place when
it is
when I do it, and he's like that too. And it's like almost his words don't fit, like the sync. He's just throwing a bunch of words together.
And he was so frustrated.
So I slide the door open. He's in the middle of it. He still has his sunglasses on. He's in the house,
which I told him to take off because he can't see what he's doing.
I look over your shoulder, and you're trying to hold back laughing, and so I just close the sliders
and I'm like,
quietly.
Just please.
I said, buddy.
So then I said to him,
we're just going to move on.
This is what happens in our life. We're just processing this out. Okay, everybody, because we had a rough weekend. Anyway, so I said to him, Max, it's okay, buddy. Listen, Mom doesn't want you to get hurt. Finish your burger, eat your food, take your hat off. I don't want you rushing through eating. When you're done, buddy, come outside and then we'll give you a task. And you can see he's very frustrated. I want to help, but he's wanting to eat. I'm like, bro, you need to eat. Just come out. So he comes out. He's got his hat, his whole thing going. So you can see him walk over to Mark. Dad, is there anything that I'm capable? He says, is there anything I'm capable of doing? Breaks my heart in a million pieces, right?
We're laughing, but
we're laughing, but it's heartbreaking. It's frustrating. It's all of the things. Yeah. Okay. So you're like, yup. Let me just get this done. We're going to turn around. Max is gone. You look at me. You go, where is he?
Yeah.
He got something in his head. Oh, I needed to go finish something. Yeah. And I go, bro, I don't even to you. I'm like, I think he's in the garage. I don't even know.
Yep. He might be mimicking a pterosaur.
Which I did get. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
You're done with our stories,
everybody. Let me get to some questions and stuff
like
that. And but that's our life. That's our journey.
What's going
on. It is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
So thank y'all for listening.
Yeah. Thank you. And I got a whole stack of questions. I'm going to do my best to try to get into a bunch of these. Let's try that today. Shall we?
You want me to say hi to people or no?
Yes.
Or no? Do you want me to skip that?
Yes. I have a thank you, and then I have a bunch of questions. Go ahead and welcome everyone in the chat. Give them the Melissa de Jesus flavor.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Let's go to Rumble. Hello, Janata, Abby Ploop, Sir Rubbleton from Eastern Kentucky. Hello, RRB. Hello. Okay. Glad to have you with us. Holding down Rumble. Let me go up here. Vanessa Chavez, hello. Rise to Royalty, hello. Douglas Garcia, welcome. Lori Livingston, hello. Velma, Allison, Haley, hello. Dave Jenkins, what's up from Chicagoland? Emma P, Jessica, hello. Time Walker, Meg VC, Adrian, Luke Braganza. Deborah, hello. Trish, Jillian, Jax, Regina. This is her first time attending. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. Stacy, Jimmy, hello. Ashlyn, hello. Booge. That's what we call our dog, Booge. Joshua Miller. Nishan, hello. Marty, NC Prepper, Vieta, Private, hello. Let me go down here. Miss Hibiscus, Miguel, hello, Miguel. Rebecca, Devin, Smiling Heidi, hello. Rox, Miss B, hello, Miss B. Jessica, Madison, hello and welcome back. Murda, Hema, Nikki. Did he say hi to Kelly already? Virgil, Child of God, Emmanuel. Lindsay, hello. Let me go down here. Lynn, hello, lovely. How are you, my dear? Psalmist, hello. Unreconstructed, hello. Oops, it's jumping. Patricia, Rosemary, Autumn. Oh my gosh, my computer's stuck. Jaden. Oh my gosh, Rakoju, Andy's here. Russ, Elaine, Luke. CV. I think I got everybody. If I didn't, if I missed you, I'm sorry I missed you. And welcome. We're just so glad to have you with us.
You got it. Did you do Rumble?
I did. I started with Rumble, babe.
Okay, awesome.
And welcome to those who catch us on Facebook.
That is awesome. You do such a great job in like a very lively addressing everyone's names. Mm-hmm. It's very, very kind. I had a thank you. Just wanted to read real quick. And it was done in the question page. Sometimes people send thank yous. Hello, Mark. I just wanted to thank you for your YouTube videos and the wonderful work you do. God has led me to several of your videos, and it felt like he was speaking directly to me with what you covered in those videos. I was dealing with anxiety, obsessive thoughts caused by condemnation. It was the darkest time of my walk with God. I felt severely oppressed. Your video was like a veil lifting from my eyes, God removing that heavy burden in an instant. I'd been carrying that for a long time. Words cannot express the gratitude and peace I feel today. Thanks to God helping me through you. Thank you. God bless you and your family. I will pray for you. I wish you all the best. Very, very kind.
Love it. Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate that.
We appreciate everybody.
And you're going to keep an eye on the...
I am. You can submit a question. We do have that posted in the comments and also in the tag below the video. And then you can also do a super chat, and I will keep an eye on that.
And what's it called in Rumble again? I forget.
Rumble Rant.
Rumble Rant.
Yes.
That was our chance to call it a Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble. Okay.
That's probably trademarked.
Probably. Forget we said that.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Don't do it. They're going to, don't. I think he's got that pretty locked down too. So.
Oh, no, that's the let's get ready to rumble.
Oh, that's true. You're right. Yeah. But he apparently, from what I understand,
yes,
he has little things crawling the internet to get people if they say it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is true. Mm-hmm. This is true. All right. Go ahead. Let me get into, there's a lot of questions that are coming in that, at least the ones that I have a chance to cover here, have a lot of family dynamic stuff, marriage stuff, kids, parenting, all that. So I'm going to give some feedback, give some encouragement in those areas. Pray that it'll be blessing to your journey. The first one is, I believe this is an adult who is gone through a lot of pain, and she's trying to figure out how to walk through some healing with her mom. So I'm going to give you some feedback on that. I so appreciate that you acknowledge and address emotional neglect. I will try to make this as concise as possible. I'm 51 years old. I had everything I needed growing up except for emotional connections. Now, when I read that statement, just so you know, when somebody says, I had everything I needed growing up except for emotional connections, it is like somebody saying, I lived in a mansion, a beautiful mansion, but we had no roof. So, because emotional connection is everything. Our relationships, our bonds with our parents, with loved ones, with friendships, etc. Incredibly important in mental health. But anyways, you go into your journey. My parents divorced when I was 5 years old and married other people when I was 9 years old. I spent the school year with my mom and stepdad, and the summer with my dad, stepmom, and one of my step siblings. Okay, I gotta map this all out in my brain here. My dad had a temper, so I walked on eggshells around him. None of my parents really engaged in much conversation with me, and I spent a lot of time alone. When I was 28, My dad shot and injured 2 of his coworkers and then killed himself. I have been in and out of counseling throughout the years. Most recently, I tried to talk to my mom about my childhood, and although she has apologized more than once and has acknowledged not being there for me, which helps, it seems to not be enough. I asked her to go to counseling with me to work on communication, and she thought it was a good idea that I go, and proceeded to tell me how to find a counselor. Her not wanting to work on healing with me feels like it has broken me emotionally. Okay, there is a stage that we come to in our heart healing journey where we recognize the wounds of mom and dad at different layers and different levels. For many people, there's a lot of forms of denial at first, and we kind of have our scaffolding of what we felt like our upbringing was, and then over time we start to realize what was healthy. There is no perfect parenting. There is good enough parenting. There's a lot of neglect. There's trauma here. There's a lot of difficult things that you're expressing in your upbringing that need to be addressed. There's a tendency in our healing journey, when it has to do with family and our parents, to, when we start to experience some insight, we start to get a sense of, oh, this affected me, this wounded me. We make the mistake and understand this is an understandable mistake. This isn't like you messed up. We all do it. I've done it. Melissa's done it. We've all done it. We make the mistake of going to our parents with this understanding. And number one, it's not going to go well. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to go well. You may get some friendly feedback or things, or I'm sorry, or something like that. You may get that. But it is a first step thing that we do, and we're going to have to realize really quick when it comes to healing through wounds of your parents, especially when you move into your adult years, is I discourage going to your parents with that wound. Your journey is leaving father and mother, and you said you're 51 years old. So I do not recommend adults taking their parents to counseling with them or going to counseling with them. I encourage you to take this step on your own. Leave father and mother, take that step of healing and journey on your own, because it's not going to help the healing. Now, there's this thing called rejection. And rejection's a root that gets into these places of neglect and places where we've been unloved. And it will feed this pattern of we want people to validate our pain and our woundedness, especially our parents. And there's 2 things that happen. They don't validate it, and so that rejection continues to get worse and worse and worse. Or they do validate it, and the rejection continues and gets worse and worse and worse. Why? Because a rejection wound, nothing's ever enough. It becomes a all-you-can-eat buffet that never gets filled. So what you saw here, you went to your mom. She said, yeah, sure, but why don't you go, you do it, which is actually the better step, that you go ahead and go pursue your healing. But when she has validated it, you saw that it wasn't good enough. And that's a sign that place can get filled with a rejection wound, and it will fuel an excessive neediness to get validated in that. And we all have areas where we've not been affirmed, validated, accepted, and recognized in our pain. We'll have to find other avenues to work through that. So I would encourage you, let go of having to go with your mom to any therapy. Release her to her journey, release yourself to your own journey. You said, once again, I've had to deal with things by myself. I've blocked her and my stepdad on the phone and have very limited to almost no contact with them through email. Okay, so that's where you're at with them right now. So that really, at least for now, further says don't go to therapy with them. My stepdad barely says boo to me. I feel like as a follower of Jesus, I'm sinning by cutting them off. See, isn't it interesting why we're focusing on the cutting off part, whether that's sinful or not? What you did was in establishing a boundary for whatever it is, you're at where you're at, and you had to establish a boundary. You can't talk to them right now, and that's where it is. We focus on the sinfulness or not sinfulness of it. Meanwhile, you've got a whole history of stuff that you're trying to heal through. And so, but one of the byproducts of emotional neglect is a lot of guilt. You're very prone to blaming yourself and a lot of guilt. So that's what's coming up in this separation because you want connection, but they're not a great connection. So I grew up acting as if nothing was wrong and won't do it any longer. Am I wrong to cut them off or have very little contact with them? And if so, how do I have relationships with them when I feel like I'm pulled back into the neglect and it just brings so much sorrow and pain? Thanks for your guidance you can give. I say right now, you're not really talking with them. Pursue your healing journey. Pursue your healing journey and work on it, because any adult has to have space apart from family to work on your issues. And we all make some kind of step that's not good for us. We go to them because we want family to join us in the healing journey. So you feel very alone in it. I want to affirm that, yeah, that's part of it. It's part of the journey a bit, feels a little bit alone, but you're going to get to know yourself, get to know some things that you need to heal and work through. And then in due time, you'll learn how to, what can work. If they're reasonable at this level, you can find a way to do that. If not, is what it is. There's a whole bunch of spectrums of what it looks like to interact with family. I find people are more focused on the rules. What should I do? Should I call this week? Should I meet once a week? Should I do once a month? Should I maybe just go for this? We look for the rule because we're focused on making sure we follow the right rule, not realizing this is a messy journey. And this is where you're at right now. Focus on you getting well. And then as things arise, you kind of go, all right, what could be best here to guard over my healing journey and to honor that, but also being reasonable. It's the best feedback I can give in as concise a way I can give.
Very good.
This is, this just came in today. This woman's in a rocky marriage. And it looks like her husband's a narcissist. And he wants to move to another state. I live in Southern California where my adult children and new grandkids live. I have a comfortable life with good community and a job. However, my marriage of 21 years has been rocky the whole marriage. My husband seems adamant about moving to Tennessee to escape the high cost of living and the liberal politics. Okay. He wants to build a home on property and have a mini farm. While I've dreamed of that opportunity my whole younger life, now in my 50s, I have fear of leaving where I'm comfortable to go where I know I'll be isolated. The main fear is because our marriage is so rocky and I've suffered much emotional abuse within it and don't feel totally recovered from that. Though I constantly pursue healing, I'm growing, but it's slow. Marriage counseling in the past has never helped because he's on the narcissistic side. And if he's truly on somewhere in that arena of narcissism, you guys know how I feel about that. I give a lot of warnings about that. I believe the Bible warns about them and the toxic ways that they affect people. And I did a whole series on that. His talk and pursuit of viewing property makes me highly anxious because I can't imagine ever coming to a place of marital happiness. And the thought of taking such an impasse as we have on a major move is overwhelming. At least in California, I'm rooted with my children. It's from a former marriage, but my hobbies, I have community here. What's your wisdom and perspective on such a big decision? I think that there is a pattern of many questions that come into me where there is a load of problems that are going on, and people are asking me a question that underlying it is, how can I be okay with the situation and move forward? There's many examples of this. For example, there's many in their 20s that are writing to me. They're living at home and they're having a very difficult relationship with their parents. Their parents may be controlling, maybe legalistic, maybe even be some kind of abusive behaviors. It's very, very toxic. And they're like, and they're asking me, how can I not get triggered by them? Right? So we're asking to squeeze in the situation and somehow make it all work out okay. Right? So you're talking about a whole mixture of things. The two things that stick out to me the most, number one is the narcissism, and number two is where a husband should be in all decisions. So it is my premise that husbands should live as leaders in their home, and they should do that humbled before God and with a servant's heart, watching over their home, leading their home. We live in an epidemic of that not happening, and the repercussions of what it does to people's mental health in a variety of ways, from the wife to the children, trickle down, etc., is massive. So in making a decision, you say, I don't feel comfortable in making this big step and this big decision. And I see what you're saying there. Yes, taxes in California is high. The liberalism is high. Get it? A lot of people moving out of there for those reasons. And however, you do see you have relationships and so forth. And in my life, in my journey, I don't make any decision if my wife isn't fully on board with it. So if I was to say to her, and maybe someday, we live in the Charlotte region right now in North Carolina, and Abby's going to school here now. And so, all right, we're plugged in a bit, but we entertain, maybe we'll live somewhere or some other places where we might see ourselves flourishing. We just let ourselves dream. And if I got locked into a place or an area and my wife was hesitant, then we're not going. We're just not going. We'll have conversations about it. Would you be open to conversation? Let's talk. We're not making a decision till both of us are fully on board to make the decision. That doesn't mean that we're both going to just feel 100% perfect and certain and all that kind of thing. No, making big steps is a nervous decision. There's a level of risk to it. But we're going to make the decision together here. So the concern here is the marriage. Now the decision to move is being brought into this. That's a symptom of a deeper issue. And the deeper issue is, what am I going to do about the marriage? And so sometimes I give people feedback. I use like a very intense example, because you're talking about emotional abuse. I'm using your wordings. And many women write to me saying, my husband's abusive. How can I be more loving? How can I work on my mental health when I'm in this environment? And it's like your question is trying to make the abuse okay, and just figure out how to make this decision okay. It's like, no, the state of your marriage is the bigger issue. And so when you're dealing with a narcissist, you're dealing with a lot of abusive tendencies. I'm not in it. I'm not in your world. However, I've met a number of narcissistic husbands, and it's a rough road. It's manipulative. It's very difficult. It's very, very challenging. And so you're left with understanding, we're at a place where it's like, where do I got to go with my marriage? You've probably gone to many times, said, we need to work on this. We need to work on these things. And he has made things difficult. So I don't have a magic answer for this, because the problem is not moving. The problem is where the marriage is at. And that's where, okay, what do I need to do at this stage? I can't make that decision for you, but it's going to take some thoughtful consideration and love of what I need to do. Because what I'm not going to tell you is just put up with the abuse and just be loving. So that's not something I'm going to share, and something I'm going to give, because many people in abusive marriages were told that, and we're overlooking abuse. We're overlooking narcissism. And I'm not telling you have to leave tomorrow. I'm not telling you even to leave, but I am saying that the environment's toxic and something needs to be done. So let me get into some more stuff here, because as a mother trying to help her child, and give some feedback with that. Hey, Mark, I really enjoy your material. I'm grateful to have found it. I have a long history of family trauma. I'm going through a very difficult season with my youngest child. I know you said to keep the questions brief, but I think some backstory would be helpful to understand where I'm coming from. She has seen demons, spirits, and ghosts since she was a little girl, and she's currently having severe mental health struggles that include symptoms that seem like Tourette's or some kind of tic disorder. She has a lot of anger, anxiety, and has been bullied at school to the point where it seems as though she had a target for this, even though she doesn't do anything to anyone. She's very sensitive, and I honestly have a hard time with my reactions when she tells me things. So that's a place that I look at. I underline that statement right there in my mind. I have a hard time with my reactions when she tells me things. And one of the things that we have to do as parents is we have to create as safe environment as possible for our children to share with us, because there's a lie of shame that comes in very, very quickly that will teach our children, keep this stuff closed in, don't share, don't tell your parents, you're going to get in trouble, it's better off not to share. In my upbringing, in my generation and my peers, you didn't even have an option to share. It wasn't a thought in your mind. I never had it cross my mind This just shows the difference in generations, right? I never had it cross my mind to even share how much anxiety was in my life. It wasn't until my adult years that I even started sharing with my parents how much was going on in my head. So, love you, Mom and Dad, watching. So anyway, the thing we as parents need to do is create the best environment to show that when they share stuff, we're not thrown off. Now, inside, you might be going, oh my goodness. But to create a response where they can feel safe. And that's where I would tell you to work at. Now, I don't see anything about her father here. And so I would like to know, what's her dad doing? Because if she feels like she's seeing stuff, she's seeing like apparitions in the room, she's seeing, whether what she's seeing, is she seeing stuff? Is she just kind of, like kids do? They think they see something or whatever, but she's also if she's having some kind of tic disorder or Tourette's, that probably needs to be checked out and examined if there's some neurological thing that's going on here. But, and that may be targets of bullying and things like that too, if there's times where she just may be a little bit off in how she's coming across socially or relationally. So 2 things to look at is mom and dad being a safe presence where she can talk and share, where that is built strongly within her. And where's dad? Because a lot of moms are writing to me, and I need to see some more dads involved in this process. For the last 5 years or so, I've watched many, many videos and read several books related to spiritual warfare and the like. Okay, so I have a feeling you're going to do some demon chasing here. My question is, how do you know what you're supposed to do if nothing seems to be helping? Well, the first thing you do is get rid of the statement that says nothing seems to be helping. That's a common statement we use that's just not true. There's no such thing as nothing is helping. It's just what I've done so far, I'm not sure it's helping. Because when we say, we do this in our prayer life too. God, I've done everything, help me. It perpetuates a limiting mentality. And what it does is it shuts our brain down. When I say I've tried everything, your brain shuts down in that area. It takes the subject and puts it into a box, right? And sometimes that's a way we compartmentalize things. But it's a limiting mindset that doesn't expand your thinking. So that's where I would start. And I see you kind of like, okay, I got to figure out spiritual warfare, which that's going to lead you into a lot of like, try this prayer, try this thing, try that thing. What I want to do, because I'm at a stage in my journey, being 20 something years into this, spiritual warfare teaching, I'm more of at a place now where it's fatiguing. It's fatiguing me because we're wearing out a lot of recommended pathways and teachings that's just sending people into a bunch of shadow boxing and jumping through a bunch of hula hoops. And then when they don't see results, we tell them to jump through some more, and maybe you've done this. And then we get into curses and we get into that. And it starts to get very superstitious. It starts to send people in spirals. Yes, we're in a battle, but the battle's relational. I can drive out more demons out of my kids by loving them, having a bond with them, having conversation with them, walking with them, praying with them, sharing with them, having fun with them, than any spiritual warfare technique that's ever been published in any spiritual warfare book. That's a long sentence. Because we see a problem in our kid and we go to like the magical toolbox. Well, I got to pray this prayer. I got to break this thing. No, you got to spend time with your kid. You got to, our son, we have spent hours and hours and hours with my daughter. I've spent hours and hours and hours working with them, listening to them. I personally believe parenting now is the hardest work in the history of parenting, because our children are made aware of so many things so young. There's so many topics and things that are coming at them. The information age that we live in has made so many things accessible now. So their brains are flooded with all these things that I never even knew. There's words my kids know that I didn't know till I was an adult, topics that they are aware of. And, we homeschooled them most of the years. We have pretty strong standards of what they look at, what they watch. And yet still, there's value systems that come in. And so a lot of the spiritual warfare techniques are like, pray this prayer, pray this. And I've I'll be honest, I've done them. But the most powerful thing to do is feed the bond of relationship with our children. And the biggest spiritual attack on our kids is just us as parents just being disconnected, being too busy. We have to work multiple jobs. We have so much going on. We have deadlines. We have things. We're working late hours. We're exhausted. So we want our parenting to kind of go into autopilot. We want it to kind of be automated. Can you just figure this stuff out? Which is what they did to us as kids. You'll figure it out. Those wolves out there, you'll figure it out. And so we get there's a lot of spiritual warfare teachers, and they cause people to excessively spin over trying to find the right prayer and the thing. And maybe this is a curse. Maybe this thing. Maybe somebody made a vow. Maybe this thing that's happened. Maybe I think. Maybe. But that's not the primary thing, because we often want some kind of magical prayer or some, and many churches kind of teach in that way. If you do this and do this and do this, you just won't have any battles and any problems. And it's just not true. We're in a war, but the war is relational. It's relational. It's you being connected to God, you being connected to yourself in fruitful ways, and you being connected to others in a healthy way. That's where the battle is. And so me as a dad, just creating that imprint in my children does more spiritual warfare like than anything else I've ever seen. So anyway, let me go back to what you shared. My question is, how do you know what you're supposed to do if nothing seems to be helping? I already confront that. What do? You develop the bond. You sit and talk. You work through things. You listen. You love. You empathize. You hug. You care. You listen with an empathetic ear. Listen, and parents, when we look at the younger generation, there's a tendency for us to look and go, nah, it's really not a problem. You think in your mind, when I was your age, I didn't have anyone to talk. Right? We kind of do that. Don't default to that. Default to empathy. Default to listening, because when we judge people, we can't help them. That's kind of one of the things that I think is important to remember. So in your place of frustration, you're saying, like you've mentioned before, I do the rescue me prayers and God, where are you prayers, which are understandable. Okay, you didn't sin. It's not something wrong, but it's not effective. Those kind of prayers, we all say them. We all say them. God, where are you? Nothing works. I don't know. Woe is me. We all say them, but they're not effective. And David himself did that in the Bible. God, where are you? You've forsaken me, right? Tons of it. But those are not the prayers that you hang over your toilet as decorations. The prayers are the ones that he found his way into the place. God, I've never seen the righteous forsaken. I've never, you lead me beside the still waters. You restore my soul. He dwells in the secret place in the Most High. I shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he's my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him will I trust. We get that through the hard times. So those God, where are you prayers, we often start that way, and then we walk away. And my encouragement is time to go deeper, because in the love bond with your children, you'll figure out what's needed. Because many times my kids just need me to be there for them and listen to them. Sometimes they need a bit of discipline to go, hey, just go and do it. There's many times I have to tell my kids, just take a step and try it and watch them get a victory and go, see, you did it. And so wisdom shows up when you learn how to just open up the atmosphere of loving compassion. One of the pastors who I've learned a great deal from is big on rules, laws, and principles. Okay, from the Bible. And some of the things he says has me very confused when I compare to what you teach. I bump into this all the time. And I'm not going to compete with other teachers or, any of that, but what he goes into here, I don't know. This is not helpful. One of the main things he talks about is fasting to break evil covenants and evil altars. Fasting's great. Breaking evil covenants and evil altars. The problem with that is you can make that anything. I didn't have breakthrough, Pastor. There was an evil covenant that was done 10 generations ago. The Lord's telling me this. You need to fast about it. Okay, Pastor, I did that. I'm still struggling. Okay, well, there's another. It could just be. So unfortunately, that sounds more like something you would see in Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter than actual like biblical application. Okay. And so I'm not trying to make light of this. And so, but you say here, it involves generational curses, which I know you've talked about as well. He says we're not supposed to fast if we have unforgiveness, bitterness, or anger in our hearts, because that means we regard iniquity and God won't hear us. That's like a bunch of different scriptural precepts just shoved in together. How about just spend time with your daughter and pray for God to give you a powerful love and discernment. Spend time with her, walk with her through this. We don't see that as spiritual warfare. And that's the part that's frustrating. That like, if you came to me and said, I've got a demon in my life, and I go, all right, let's spend some time together. And I spent 2 hours with you and loved you and listened to you. Most people don't consider that spiritual warfare. And it is. Yep. Perfect love casts out fear. Demons are real. Spiritual warfare is real. The avenue for overcoming is not a list of these direct rules and things, because that's what we want. We want a sense of control. We want to like pull a lever, pull a thing. And a lot of times we watch too much TV too, and you know, it's like you're trying to find the right spell. Harry Potter, what is it that we have to do? You know, and it's like walking with God is a relationship. And sometimes there's a prayer that will unlock something, but a lot of times it's just developing the bond. And in the bond, things happen. But it's not super magical, and it's not some missing ingredient. We're passing by love, though, meanwhile. Your daughter needs to feel safe and loved. She's getting bullied. She's got all kinds of stuff going on. She's having stuff at night going on. How many times for years? Our son couldn't go to bed for 8 years in a normal fashion. My wife is still having the effects of sleep deprivation because of how many times she would get up and the rounds it would take for us. In times where her or I would just lay with Max there and be with him. If we went through a lot of those hula hoops. And you know what the best thing I learned in all of it wasn't some super spiritual technique. It was just being with him, being patient with him, loving with him. Sometimes it'd be just worshiping, laying there next to him while he's restless and getting up. Max, it's all right. It's all right. We just love on him. And God did a work in us while we learned to persevere and hang in there. You see, we want the quick thing. And there's a lot of quick fix hustling preachers out there. Like, just do this and do that. And, you know, you got to fast to break these things. And I've fasted. We've fasted. We've done those things and continue to value them, but not in the way that people often do it. In a way of like, fasting often becomes this like slot machine that we're going to make a deal with God. I could do this fasting. Okay, God, because you're going to do this thing. And you're going to change this thing for me. And I think we minimize the simple things that are needed. So anyway, then you say we should rest in the Lord and we don't have to strive or perform. Now, resting in the Lord, just so you all know, because some of you write to me and say, I want to just rest in the Lord. And you think it means you're just like, nothing bothers me. I'm just floating through life. Now, resting in the Lord is a learning process where you're learning to cast your cares, but resting in the Lord is very active. It's not a passive state. Oh, whatever. It's learning to engage a problem and issue. You process it with God. You give it to him, but yet you still remain active in your place. I'm a very present dad because that's what I want to be. And it's an act of rest. There are times where I'm striving too hard, too much pressure. I'm in Mark DeJesus mode, and I need to learn to take my peace. It's a practice here. But rest in the Lord doesn't mean like you're just going to be floating. So when you have situations like mine, it gets a little confusing to know what to do. My daughter's at a critical point now where she has said many times that she doesn't want to live. She wants to die and has harmed herself before. Her body and her physiology is crying out for nurture and love. All hands on deck. Love, nurture, love, nurture. There is no other subject. Her physiology is actually crying out for it. And so, and that may take you as a mom learning how to access that for yourself, because we have generational lack of nurture. We only pass down what we know, but we come from lack of nurture. So we have a lot of learning to do. I have had a lot of learning to do and continue in what nurture is because I lacked it. And then I show up to parenting, I'm going to pour out an empty bucket. So I've got a process with God learning to receive his nurture because then I give that nurture to my kids. This is where it's at. And we're teaching people, you got to say these 3 prayers and sign up for this. And the 2 breakthrough prayers are going to fix your parenting. The hard work is learning to love, learning to nurture. And of course, I've done the fasting and renunciation prayers. I don't have another fasting. No more fasting. No more fasting. No more renunciation prayer lists. But the negative patterns are evident and continue are undeniable. I've dealt with these types of things my whole life and the emotional pain and helplessness to save my child, whom God has given me to raise. Yeah, and where's the dad? Because she may be crying out for the love of her father, who may not be in the picture. Yet for some unknown reason, and see, this is where we end up with a lot of these pathways, whose God's given me to raise, yet for some unknown reason is not helping us. That's not true because I'm talking to your situation right now. So we're just going to throw that out because nope, I'm taking time in this broadcast to address your question. So you are being helped, and but it's a matter of making some adjustments. I'm not trying to compete with your pastor, but there's a lot of that going on, and I don't think it's very productive or helpful. I need to get under the blood. So I'm going to get under the blood, then we'll take some super chats.
Under the blood, me say me under the blood. Under the blood, me say me under the blood. Jesus cover me under the blood. Under the blood, me say me under the blood. Jesus, you will cover me under the blood. In the morning when me wake up, and the blood that Jesus me take up. And when me feel like me, I go break up. Put the blood on me face just like a makeup. In the morning when me wake up, and the blood that Jesus me take up. And when me feel like me heart break up, put the blood on me face just like a makeup. Under the blood, under the blood, under the blood. Jesus cover me, under the blood. Jesus you will cover me. Say under the blood, under the blood, under the blood. Jesus you will cover me. Jump on this. Listen, Christian a fight some things where them not see. Stronghold demons and principality. Remember they are the temple. Keep it holy, sanctify, justify, give God the glory. Fighting against 3 terrible enemy. The world, Satan and myself against me. What the anointing pour it on me and make me trample the devil on it. Say, under the blood, under the blood, under the blood. Jesus cover me. You want to hear it? Yeah. Drum and bass.
Drum and bass.
Drum and bass, listen.
All right. You got to love it. Never gets old. Never gets old. Give me stuff from Super Chat Land. What you got?
Okay, hold on. Private said that there is a video where a preacher sings Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, I'm not going to hell. So yeah. I told them they need to send it to us immediately.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. I love fun stuff.
I also saw, I think there was one too where this guy did, he was doing, he wrote a bunch of lyrics to a Michael Jackson song. Mm-hmm. What's the one that,
Annie, are you okay? No. Please, now you're going to put that in my head.
That's what my ears hear. I don't hear anything. I don't hear any words. Annie, but you won't be.
Annie, are you okay, Annie?
You be.
Oh, Smooth Criminal. Smooth Criminal. So good.
Anyways, I think it was to that.
Boo. I love what you answered to that last question. Ripped it. Awesome. Love it.
Yeah. Relationship is spiritual warfare.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Super chats. Well, first I'm going to read Joshua Miller. He's so kind to us. Love offering. Thank you for all you do and helping us to seek God in this darkness.
That's very nice.
Amen,
Thank you, brother.
Sir. Okay. Here's a big one. You ready? Flaming Strawberry. How do you feel about RFK Jr.'s recent statements about autism? Thank you for all you do. Now, I asked her to, I'm assuming it's a her, to clarify which statement. And she said, I'm assuming she said something about curing it. I never heard him say that. I've never heard him say that he's going to cure it.
Yeah. I was thinking about the flaming strawberries.
That's the name.
I'm thinking of strawberries that are on fire. So what part of RFK? Because I know that...
That's what I was wondering. So, honey, if you could clarify.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I think it'd be... we have a problem in medicine and society where there is a lack of acknowledgement of something that's very problematic. And in the area of autism, there is many, many, many problems in what is affecting it. And there's been a blanket dismissal. Yeah, we've done studies on it, nothing, right? And so I do appreciate...
We really have.
I do appreciate somebody like him coming in. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I do appreciate somebody like him coming in saying we want to get more to go what's going on, because we have a level of autism we've never seen before in human history. And in my history, I could name two people, looking back, that they were autistic and they just were never really diagnosed. Two people that come into mind in a church of 1,500, and lots of people that come through. But nowadays, the rate of it is increasing and increasing and increasing. And was it 1 out of every
35, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so somebody said, yes, RFK said he had, which I did hear him say this, that they'd have a reason for the cause by September, bold statement, unless he already knows. So my feeling is I think that he already knows. When you do deep dives on this, we've been in this world since Max was diagnosed.
Yeah.
Seen all the movies, we've read all the books, we've done tons and tons of research, and I believe that they already know. There's a lot of stuff that's been hidden. There is also quite a few whistleblowers that are ready to testify that all they need is to be called in by Congress, and Congress has not called them in because, as you know, this isn't conspiracy theory stuff. Big Pharma, Congress, all of them are paid by all of these people.
Sure.
You know, right. We should not be having these ads on TV. Anyway, there's a lot. Links to food, what's in vaccines, what's in food. I think it's sometimes the kitchen sink of a lot of very toxic things that has happened to all of us. It is not one size fits all. There's other vaccines that people say you cannot take that. People have reactions. Why is it with everything that's on the vaccine schedule that it has to be 100%? You have to take it starting from out of the chute when you're born. You need to take all of these things.
That's right.
Yes, I could go on and on. So does that give you the gist of what we I will say this. You've probably heard me talk about it on past podcasts earlier, a couple of years ago, that we have a very typical story with Max. He was walking, talking, very normal functioning child. And then he had his MMRs. He could not walk. He could not talk. He lost functioning. He was very, very sick. Yeah. We have it on video. So we have that story.
Yeah. To this day, it's
gut wrenching to watch it.
Yeah, we're still processing, 17 years later.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
but I think there's something very basic I would bring to that subject, and that we have a problem. And historically, when it comes to government and government agencies, they're not going to truly admit, oh, we messed up on something, because we're talking trillions of dollars worth of liability over things.
Right.
So oftentimes, I mean, we're seeing that with the COVID thing, what happened and the deception that was there and took place. And so I think I would appreciate anything that comes out as far as knowledge and insight. We're just starting to scratch the surface on human health as far as nutrition and diet, because there's a lot of things, chemicals and foods that we've been dismissing. Meanwhile, people are having massive autoimmune issues, inflammation issues, and it's not being acknowledged, and it's slowly starting to be caught up because doctors are more and more recognizing it.
I think that's, not to interrupt you, babe, but I think that's a great point when we have these discussions, is that autism can become the focus. And we're neglecting the fact that we are a very, very sick culture now. People with autoimmune, younger kids coming with cancers, all kinds of things. So we've made autism this focus, and we're neglecting all these other things that people are having earlier and earlier and earlier, who've, gone years and years with the flu vaccine. And now they're going, hold on. So this could be a very huge conversation. There's other podcasts that do that quite well. We have an emotional investment in it, so it can get emotional for us. But so that's kind of where we stand. If that helps. Okay, so I have another one. Hold on, babe.
Yeah. What did I? I'm not even sure if I gave feedback to it.
I think we did.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Let me go. Hold on. Oh, hold on. My YouTube is
Yeah, my screen just
mine froze too. So yeah.
Well, while you're looking, why don't I do another question? Then you can come back and.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Mark from Abby. Hi, Abby. Can a long-term rumination become a personal conviction over time? Thank you for your ministry.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where we defend our compulsions. We defend our obsessions. Yeah, for sure. You ruminate over something long enough, you can justify it. So people that ruminate over their salvation and you tell them, hey, this is an obsession, but Mark, this is my salvation. This is important. It's an example, right? You name the subject, there's and that takes some time to realize that you're listening to distortions. But there's a lot of times where we can defend our obsessions. So we're calling it conviction, but it's more you've made it a conviction. That makes sense? Okay.
Okay, next one. From Lartown, I feel unforgiven all the time, and I struggle with blasphemous thoughts and the unforgivable sin.
Yep.
One time I was trying to pray and accidentally said, Satan, cast out Satan. It was by accident. It looks like there was more to it, but it got cut off.
That's intrusive thoughts, OCD.
Yep.
Your the first sentence, what was the first sentence again?
Oh, hold on. I feel unforgiven all the time, and I struggle with blasphemous thoughts. So
you have a combination of condemnation and intrusive thoughts, OCD. So I'd go to my content on condemnation, because that's that like feeling of not feeling forgiven, not feeling. That's a big part of it. Yep. All right.
Excellent, boo.
Awesome. All right, keep an eye out for any other questions on autism, and
we're talking about all kinds of things today.
The new world order.
Well, don't know.
All right, so this person has a career dilemma. He's got OCD, wondering, what should I do with my career? Thank you for all the work you do in Christ. So I'm torn between law and gynecology. I only have this month to figure out what I want to do. I have a degree in medical lab science. During that degree, I realized how much I struggled with OCD, the intrusive thoughts, germophobia, constant washing of hands, and feeling unsafe. So I actually ended up hating most of my experience, the lab work, not necessarily the theory, and therefore want to change careers. I've always wanted to be a gynecologist, but after all I experienced in my first degree, I guess I'm scared of how I may feel working in hospitals and all. I almost feel like if it weren't for the fear and OCD, I would totally go for gynecology. Well, you've answered your own question. And a lot of times when I don't have a lot of time with somebody, I'll get to the heart of it. What would you do if fear wasn't in the equation, in the sense of like recognizing how fear is creating overthinking, a sense of avoidance, moving back? Because even if you switch over to another career, you're still going to have this OCD pattern follow you. I think if you have all these cleanliness, germphobe things, you're going to be in exposure therapy all the time. So you're going to have like hands-on, be able to face it on a regular basis at work. You write, is it possible to succeed and thrive mentally as a doctor who have OCD tendencies, intrusive thoughts, and germophobia? Yeah, you can, providing that you get the help and you work at it. Just because, let's say you pick another job, it doesn't mean like all of a sudden, this stuff is still going to find its inroads into another job you get. I thought long hard about it, and I realized that law is also not bad. The OCD is going to find its way into law too, just so you know. Plenty of OCDers that the lawyers and CPAs and doctors, medical nurse, in some ways, I use this loosely. Don't quote me directly out of context with this. In some ways, your OCD can be rewarded because you're extra careful, extra cautious. and you do that second look to make sure things are okay, right? Or just right, so people can appreciate that. It can inflame the OCD even more, so you have to be aware of that. But yes, you can be. You can do all kinds of work. You can do what you're passionate about. So there's a risk of being in spaces. You said law. I thought about doing law, but there's a risk of being in spaces that trigger the intrusive thoughts. There you go. Yeah. So it's something you have to take a deep breath and go, I've got years of work. It's going to be a journey. I'm going to buckle up for the journey, and I'm going to learn how to not let fear be my boss, because that's the healing journey with OCD, with anxiety, with panic attacks, with avoidance, with worry, with ruminating, is that learning to not let fear be your boss. You'll feel it, but you don't serve it. And you take time to learn how to overcome and work through it. But I can't help feel like I might be choosing the path of least resistance and seeing myself just short because of fear and OCD. Or maybe it's wise to me to make the switch to law. Maybe I would thrive more. But what if I am less fulfilled in law than in medicine? This is my dilemma, which just sound like a lot of overthinking. Could you give any advice on what I could do? You're basing your job decision on fear, and I would not base a job decision based on fear. And many will say, I'm not being fearful, being cautious. I'm not being fearful, I'm just using wisdom. Okay, if that's what you want to think, but there's a lot of fear in there. So that's my feedback. This sister, she's in conflict with her husband about her independent fundamental Baptist church. Hello to my IFB brothers and sisters. Amazing that you even show up to this channel and you can sit and watch the content and stay with me. Hello, Mark. My husband and I have been going to an IFB church for 14 years. That's a long time. We've also been raising our kids there and had them in school as well. Our whole life has been entangled in the church. There have been so many struggles through the years that have taken a mental and emotional toll on me and our oldest son. For the past 2 years, I have personally been deconstructing from all the controlling and manipulative teachings. I want to leave the church, but my husband doesn't. How do I get my husband to see what's going on? How do we work through something that we are so divided on? It makes me sad that the church has caused so much damage to my family, and now I'm scared for my marriage. Well, IFBers, pastors, are not a big fan of what I do. They're not a big fan of mental health at all. And they would probably just tell me I need to read my Bible and pray more and stuff and a whole list of other things that I'm not doing. One of the things that I learned about IFB real quickly, I went to a Pentecostal Assemblies of God church, went to an independent fundamental Baptist Christian school, really different worlds. So I have an upbringing that has given me a lot of fuel to understanding. But one of the things IFBs thought of me was, oh, he goes to a church where they don't have standards. They would use that terminology a lot. You have standards. They lack standards. But then when you'd ask them the standards, many times they just have these vague things that they like had to do with clothing or music you listen to. But then when you try to drill down their convictions, why do you have convictions on those things? It often would just be kind of vague uses of scripture and just a lot. It's going to take some time to walk out of the legalism. And a lot of people that I saw coming out of it, out of my school, a few of them doubled down and kind of repeated the patterns and carried that on. But many of them were just like, I want nothing to do with any of this. Many found grace, though. And I'm happy to see that. I stay in touch with some of them to this day. They found grace, they found a healing journey, but it took some detoxing. Okay, to your question. Right now, you're not on the same page. You've opened your eyes to something. Your husband is in his road, which is very, very common in the sense of like you seeing something, but he's got his routine and his way of seeing things. To really see it, it would create an upheaval in his life of like, whoa, we got to make a change. We got to do something different. You've had 14 years, a lot of history. A lot of times people don't make decisions until they feel like it's their idea. It's an interesting phenomenon. So I go look at it this way, try to step into it reasonable of talking to your husband. Honey, could we just talk about this? Here's some concerns that I have. Could we have a heart to heart on what what the Bible really talks about, what it really says, what grace is really about, what legalism is, could we just at least have some discussions on it and find if there's a bridge of discussion that can be had to take place? Not to try to convince him, let's get out of here. That's an overwhelming step. But can we just talk about what we want to establish in our home? What do we want our family to live by? I have such a high regard and value for the sovereignty of families and your ability. Even when I was a pastor, I looked at every family as like their own Christ, ecclesia, just an assembly. Where instead of like this is the church, it's like no, we're the church, the people, and you have a sovereign power under Christ to talk about what do we want to cultivate in our home. And I encourage every couple to have conversations of what do we want to cultivate in our household? What is our value as a couple? What do we value? In fact, on your next date night, have that discussion with your spouse, not just this person, but all of you. Have a discussion on what do we value? What in the Word of God are deep convictions for us that we want to cultivate in our home? And then out of that, you make church decisions. Out of that is where you make your decisions of what ministries you'll be involved in, what things you're going to other families you're going to get connected to. And so Melissa and I, we have a value for emotional relationship health. We both work on ourselves, we work on our journey, and we like to interact with other people that are it doesn't mean you have to do things our way, it doesn't mean we won't talk to you, but if you don't, but that's a core value of us. So that drives a lot of our decisions. We're very big on the heart of the Father. We're very big on the grace of Jesus Christ, the righteousness that he brought. We're very big on kicking the doors of legalism down because it's done more damage, sometimes more than other things that pastors are always calling out. And it's the biggest thing that Jesus called out. So anyway, this is going to take time. Don't nag your husband. Don't yell at him. Don't lecture him. But if he's willing to be reasonable, because I'm not getting any messages that he's like, being abusive or something like that. If he's willing to have a reasonable conversation, just have heart to heart where we don't have to make a decision. There's nothing on that. Can we just talk through some things? Take some time. It's going to take time for you and him to bond together in this, because once that opens up, things could trickle and you could make decisions from there. But don't go black and white and say, I'm hopeless, my marriage is over. Leave some room for reasonability there. Okay. I got a question about someone who's having demons manifesting in a church service. At church I used to go to, a lady started screaming while the pastor was speaking in tongues. They gathered around her and started casting out the demon. She screamed for a long time, and even after that, they said it was gone. She would start screaming again. Eventually, they calmed her down and told her God loves her. People who are like Baptists are going to be like, what is this broadcast about? She stopped screaming. I don't doubt demons exist. I'm very happy for anyone who receives genuine deliverance. Could this have been both a demon and mental illness? I don't know that that's the options, a demon or mental illness. That's not a separation. A lot of people ask me questions, is it this or this? And I'm like, those aren't two like opposite things. Yeah, we're in spiritual battles that cause mental illness battles. But from my experience over the decades, the overwhelming majority of times that this happens, it's attention getting. It is. Now, you could say, well, that's what demons do. They would cry out. They get attention. But oftentimes this comes from cultural references where this kind of thing would happen. And a lot of times it's like attention getting. So I think what we do is we feed it. We tend to get into, I know I use this term a lot, but forgive me. We get into like WWE mode where somebody's, well, I'm going to tell you something right now, brother, in the name of Jesus, that thing's, and so now we go up to match that. And I don't see that biblically. I don't see Jesus ever having that, let me tell you something, brother, in the name of Jesus, start yelling back, and then they're yelling back even more. And then people start praying, and we're praying because we're nervous. We're uncomfortable. Somebody's going, rah, and we're like, we're all just nervous now. So we use that nervousness and we get hype. And I'm more about go opposite. It's like, first of all, take her out of the room. This is not gonna take away from what we're doing here, right? And we're gonna go calm. We're gonna go calm. We're gonna go against what's happening here. So I don't need to have a, like litmus test. Is this a demon, or is this we have somebody who's acting out here for whatever reason. And it could be a lot of reasons. I've had people do it because they suddenly stop taking their meds. I've told that story where I had to like hand over the microphone to somebody else because I was like, let me just go deal with somebody here. And he was over in the corner like, and I was like, bro, you can't be just getting off your meds like that, right? It's irresponsible. You got to, if you're going to do that, you got to taper. You got to work a process here. Sometimes it felt like the Wild West when I was dealing with stuff in people's journey. So, greater is he that's in us, but a lot of us have not been exposed to moments that are uncomfortable like that, where somebody's in a schizophrenic kind of moment, or they're in a manic kind of state. And if you haven't been around it, it's very startling. So people get hyper spiritual and they're like, get it out. And as you saw, you said they got it out of her and then she started again. Right. And so I try to look at like stabilizing and then intake. What's going on here? This could be so many things making this person manifest like that. But a lot of times it is attention getting, which I know that's,
Nope.
You and I have had conversations on that.
We certainly have, yes.
Okay, this question is about surrender. I had a number of questions come in. Can you explain surrender to me, that kind of thing? But how to understand surrender when you've had an abusive childhood. It's interesting. It's amazing to know one is not alone in these struggles. Could you please offer advice on what surrender would and should be like for someone with an abusive childhood and major trust and control issues? I don't know how it works to give into Christ and fully surrender my future to him. I don't know that surrendering to Christ is something that you should be like introspectively examining and checking a lot. I feel like a lot of people who ask this question, they're like, am I surrendered? Am I surrendered? Am I surrendered? They're like examining it with this just right, but never enough mentality. But to answer your question, at its heart, surrender is recognizing you can't do life on your own, that you need God. That's a beginning start. And even recovery groups that don't teach the Bible, but they have, principles that have biblical affirmation to it. They even recognize, like they put it in this generalized term, call it a higher power. But they could not effectively do recovery work without including that. Isn't that interesting? That even in a lot of secularized programs, in it, they there's something. So it reveals to us our need for God. We were made to have a need for God. So even they'll recognize, and they'll call it a higher power. So it's recognizing you can't do life on your own, humbling yourself to be taught and learn. God, I surrender to your help. You're with me. Now, the words Jesus said is, I will never leave you or forsake you. So it's not this like, I'm apart from you. Now, many people feel like, God, I surrender, because surrendering is entering into the journey. I'm gonna give up just, and many people who struggle with addictions, coming out of complex trauma and things like that, they're survivors. They do life on their own. They do life on their own as far as God, as far as other people. And part of the healing journey is I got to open that up. I got to open up my heart to God. I got to let God be involved in my journey. I got to learn about him and his ways, and learn to open up relationships too. But you probably have to be aware of distortions of what surrender could mean, to you, and have somebody help work through that with you. Okay, this one, I think there's a lot of detail to this, but I'll give it a shot. It's a question about, is this an addiction? Is this OCD? And it has to do with decorating. She likes to decorate, I think. Yeah. Hi, Mark. You've helped me deal a great deal in recognizing my distortions. One very recently is a kind of OCD-like stress trauma response I'm considering might be an addiction too. Mine is quite specific. If I understand what you say in your material, I need to starve any compulsions in order to not be distracted from my life and healing, basically. Oh, yeah. I'll have to hear what you have to say here. Not sure if it's important to distinguish if mine is an addiction or OCD, which there are overlaps in obsessions and addictions, just so you know. I'm hoping for some practical handling my unique current situation, feeling forced out of necessity. Beware when you say your situation's unique, by the way. Trust me. None of our situations are unique. They all have unique facets to it, but there's many more. Whatever I'm going to read here, there's many more people that struggle with the same thing too. Okay, so it's in this form. The addiction or OCD-like response is rather the constant need to decorate my home. It's not like I am fixated on checking doorknobs or that kind of thing. That's a stereotypical thought of OCD. It's just a very small example. It's just making it pretty and peaceful. I can spend hours looking for items that work, especially to find deals to save money. I'm having to stage my home now to sell it this year. We will be getting a little advice from a stager, but the real work of buying, setting up, all suggests will still be let up for me to do. Yeah, sorry if I didn't read that. My home is highly personalized, so there's much to be done. I don't want to just waste money buying things I won't use in the future, though, so it's not as easy to just filling spaces with generic cheap stuff to make it work. I'm willing to put some work and not be wasteful, but I'm seeing the addiction element confusing the issue. Contributing to this drive to give attention to house decor is three things. I'm a natural-born artist. I have a pituitary tumor that affects my dopamine levels to the point that I lack motivation, energy, and patience. I now no longer have enough resistance or resilience to paint anymore, and I don't have much interest in other hobbies outside of being creative. I'm almost always at home since my illness makes things difficult. I believe my distortion is coming from disturbance. CPTSD trauma has caused me to use my creative side to view things because my view of the world is rather sad and dark. I know I need to continue leaning towards gratitude to see things in a brighter light. I also believe it's a distraction from dealing with things like social anxiety. I also recognize further dysfunction as perfectionism in my drive to do realism when I painted portraits, and it extends now to decorating. Like I need to be really good at something to prove myself, which still needs covering with God's love. I'm reading your book, God Loves Me and Love Myself. I'm progressing there, thank God. This behavior has fully developed a dopamine reward system that works well with my situation, only propelling it further. I get some retail therapy. I get out of the house, which I don't do much of otherwise. Decorating is not set in stone to speak because I can change things, unlike painting, which is hard to change. I love the patterns and colors. I enjoy different things I get to see, like vintage and learning about it. So I'm at a loss for navigating this job of getting the house ready without feeding my addiction. I'm surrounded by the subject every day. If not for selling the house, I could step away more easily from the subject, which I believe is part of what's needed. As you always say, healing is a journey. I feel I'm not ready for this heavy load amidst me trying to heal. It's like an alcoholic practically living in a bar. I'm gonna tell you what I think. I don't know you. I'm just going by what you're reading. And I think you're overthinking this and calling yourself an addict and not seeing the passion you have for decorating. I think decorating, having a knack for decorating is an awesome skill to have. And I think it's just like any other art. There's people that walk into a room, can look at the room and just go, boom, 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 boom. This is what I could do. And sometimes that could just keep going and keep going and keep going. You have to like know how to like rein it in because you're always seeing those kind of things. But I think it's something that I want to look at compassionately and in a sense affirming the desire you have for it. I don't know that I see if here would be my concerns. If you are spending way more money than you have and it's now become a financial problem, if it was getting in the way, if you were married and you're so obsessed with this, you're not paying attention to your home or relationships and so forth, you're so consumed by that. I like the fact that you have illness going on and many people can get a bit trapped in their illness. They feel like they can't leave the house. And I encourage, man, if you can get out of the house, do it as much as you can. in the sense of like stretching those muscles. So you get out and you go shopping, you at least get out a bit. And I think this is a great opportunity to really make the house look nice. You're getting ready to sell it. I have a feeling, I got a feeling, that I think you're overthinking. I think that's your obsessive compulsive tendency. Obsessors have a tendency to overdiagnose themselves, that they like doing something and like, oh my goodness, I'm an addict and I got it. Maybe, but is it getting in the way? Is it harming aspects of your journey? Is it getting in the way of healthy things? Has it become incredibly excessive? Sounds to me like there's a lot of delight in it, but you feel bad for liking it and enjoying it. And I think there was this was like a second half, right?
I think she condensed it.
That maybe this will give me, yeah, because then you go into, in the second part here, you talk about discernment and recognizing what's healthy given God-given passions, where it becomes a crutch or a numbing tool, or head into OCD territory. I think sometimes it can be hard to tell because our hearts are deceitful. Yeah, and I think that what you desire something, and I feel like there needs to be more encouragement that this is a great desire. Just steward it. Steward it. Don't throw it away. Don't dismiss it. Just steward it. Because you're fussing over whether it's a sin or not, and then you're trying to, how do we distinguish between enjoying things and having contentment that Paul had? Paul sounds like he didn't need anything. That's not true. That's not true. Don't interpret that. Paul even talked about when he would write, he'd write, oh, I long to be with you. I hope that I can make it there. There was a lot of vulnerabilities of need. Even Jesus himself talked about need and earnestly I desire to be with you. That word desire is actually the same word in other contexts that's used as lust in a negative way. So there is negative desire, unhealthy desire, and there's fruitful desire. And this hobby or this area of art that you have, it's great. And I think that you're condemning yourself over this passion that you have. Let it flourish, and then at times kind of rein yourself in if it gets excessive. Okay, it's 2 a.m. I should probably go to bed, and I'm redoing these curtains. I got lost in it, right? Because when you love an art, sometimes you can get lost in what they call the zone or the flow. I know I have that same thing too, where when I'm writing, I could get in a flow and I'm there and hours have passed. I'm like, oh my goodness, right? And I've learned to like put healthy boundaries. Like, okay, that's enough for today. That's enough right now. I enjoyed that. That was great. I got some other things I need to take care of and pay attention to. So I think that you're overthinking, like, is this good desire backed? And you're examining yourself while you're doing it. I say decorate the house for you selling it. Make it look great. Make it pop. Make it shine. And allow yourself to embrace the excitement of that. It doesn't have to be looked at as like, is this sin? Is this wrong? Is this an addiction? Is this, now if you're, hoarding stuff, or there's shopaholic kind of things, or, a loved one is going, hey, this is getting excessive, then deal with it from there. Do you have any questions in the land of the chat world?
Yes, sir. Please. Thank you. Hold, please. We had a rude person in the chat, and I missed it because I had the super chat window open. So thank you to everybody that was like, hey, there's a rude person. Okay, hold on. Carol, who's been a member, a Heart Healing Overcomer member for 5 months. Thank you, Carol. She said, thank you, Mark. You have no idea how much it helped me. Never thought I could manage OCD or get it out of my head. Now I can, and laugh at my thoughts.
Right on.
Thank you for telling us that.
Right
Tyrus, thank you for your super chat. And he said, blessings to you both. Time Walker, which is Mr. Craig. This is handing Mark a fiva, like they say in England, my favorite country in the world. Always a blessing, dear fellow.
Oh,
okay,
that's great.
Then I have from Azaya. Thank you for your super chat. Hey, Mark, I have a question. I was told that my passion tends to go 100 miles per hour, then start going 20 and then just drift. Instead of them, I need to learn cruise control. Mm-hmm. Basically that I need to slow down. Do you have any insight?
Yeah, I think that this is a very common problem. And I think that when we struggle with it, we think something's wrong with us. You have to learn how to steward passions. You know, there's times and seasons I go through too where I don't have motivation to do anything, you know, but I've learned to look at it lovingly, compassionately, but also sometimes go, Mark, it's all right. You're not in it, but just go ahead and take a step. Right. And then there's times you do too much and times
you get a burst. You get really excited. You have a burst.
You and I are experts at bursts.
Yeah.
You know?
You get a burst. You're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this on. Then you pick up your phone.
Right.
And you're like, you know what? Let me just check this. And then.
Yep. I've had to learn like how to steward motivation. So that I hope that helps.
That's so true. Okay. One more. Miss B. I have to say her name like that.
Miss B.
My brother has refused to speak to me for months. Ugh. Girl, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
My brother has refused to speak to me for months due to something I said years ago to his ex about his parenting that really concerned me at the time. That's it.
Like what to do about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. Okay, go ahead.
I think that there's a tendency to ruminate over it. Right? Replay it. And you could have a temptation to like, what I got to do to fix this? What I got to do to fix this? And I think first thing is forgive yourself. Okay, I said something, whether it was the right thing to say or the wrong thing to say. How many of you know you could say something in love, you could say it in a great way, and it still doesn't land and people get upset? We've all had that happen, right? So it's more like beware of being compulsive about, well, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. I think it's more like release, be open. Well, if there's ever an opportunity for us to have a reasonable conversation, then maybe that could open up. But oftentimes people, when they make these hard stances, they're not willing to be reasonable.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, you could reason through, even if you said something, let's say you said something that was out of line. Like, hey, I get what you're saying, but I don't appreciate the way you said that to my wife or whatever, like that. Okay, not bad, work through it. But a lot of families can't get to that place.
No, it's very sad.
Yeah. You could even completely disagree. Like, hey, I just don't see it at that place. Can you just, you know, respect that that's not what we believe,
right,
or where we're at, you know? So that's my feedback. That's the hard work though, is with that distance, when the crickets are playing, you know, that silence, it's a big temptation to go into like compulsive ruminating, and then even maybe I should call, maybe I should text.
Right, try to fix it.
Yeah.
What if I just say this? Will it make it better? And that is the difficult thing when the other person, especially when it's a sibling and let's say you already have brokenness in your family and they don't want to resolve it, it's very painful.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. It is. And let yourself grieve.
Yeah.
I'm looking up something here because
go ahead, babe.
You know me and abbreviations. People write abbreviations. I have to remind.
Which one?
TMS. I forgot what that stood for. I know it's a head thing. I'll get into that. Why don't I address this question, then we can come back with any more.
Okay.
Somebody asking, is it a sin to get surgery for OCD? Currently, I'm getting a second round of TMS, and that's what I was looking up. Transcranial magnetic stimulation. I was just remembering. I have a thing with abbreviations. I forget what they stand for. Sorry, guys. Just is what it is. For my OCD, which I've dealt with for about 55 years, TMS is life-changing but short-lived because of countless years of therapy and medicine trials and perseverance. I've learned so many coping strategies. I teach elementary school. I have a loving family, but scrupulosity is nightmarish. I'm considering... Now, before I get into what you're saying here, it does take a while for walking through OCD help. It takes a while for some of that to kick in. I mean, the overwhelming majority of people that I interact with, you know, they've gone years and years and years. It takes some specific understandings of how we relate to our thoughts and things like that. That not a lot of us, you say you're in your 50s, there's not a lot of that available. You have to understand the height of the worst of OCD for me was in the late 90s, early 2000s. And not one human being on the face of the earth that I spoke to in any situation, professionally, casually, even mentioned the word OCD. So I'm here 20 years later, and we're still just scratching the surface on how to help people. And there's a lot of treatments that were done, even to like frontal lobotomies and things like that they were trying in mental health to work with people. So anyway, getting back to what you're saying here, it does take a lot of work and time to navigate the healing journey with this. And sometimes we can kind of go, if I had a surgery or if I had this right medication, it'll just kind of help it. Well, maybe, but it's still work. There's still work involved. And when it's scrupulosity is very challenging because the uncertainty involves God, heaven or hell, your eternal destination, your spiritual state before God. These are all issues that are easy material to just keep flagging uncertainty and flagging those distortions. So it takes very intentional understanding on how to walk through it. So I'm considered a candidate for gamma knife surgery or deep brain stimulation. Insurance is my only issue, but getting closer. Question, do you think, this is classic OCD questions, by the way. You told me everything you're going through, everything you're struggling with. Do you think it's a sin to get the surgery? Like, here we go. We're off over here. And again, it's a distracting tangent. It's not even about sin or is it sin or not? And no, it's not. But my encouragement to you is no matter what we do physiologically, whether you get some kind of surgical help or even the magnetic stimulation, which I have read some of the research on that, or wherever you go, it's not going to be like, oh, that's it. Because even you said the TMS was life-changing, but short-lived. And I think that the thing I want to tell my brothers and sisters is that this is work. It's work of the heart. It's work of the emotions. I've had to work incredibly hard for decades on learning how to manage my mood, how to relate to thoughts, how to really root my heart in compassionate grace. It's been a journey. I'm continuing on it. Don't look at me and think I've arrived. Now, I'm enjoying great fruit of victories in areas of battles I had before that are not as intense, but I have other ones. And there's waves of new things that come about in my journey. It's no matter what other things that you utilize, there is work. And so even being in your 50s, you could be like, oh my goodness, is it too late for me? I'm older in life. Don't let that get in the way as well either. So it's not even the sin or not sin. It's asking a question that doesn't need to be asked. Does God wants us to have faith? So I'm worried he would say, I don't trust him. That tells me your lens about God. And if you have a punishment-based relationship with God or a performance punishment-based relationship with God, it makes scrupulosity that much more of a nightmare because that's feeding it. And from your question, I could see that that's what's feeding it. So I'd encourage you to get into some of the broadcasts and resources I talk about that. You say, I should be fighting the devil, right? Am I showing a lack of faith in God to have such work done on me? I think it's creating a distraction. I want to bring you back to your God lens and how you relate to God and allowing yourself to do the work and working on renewing that. My love, do you have any questions?
I do not.
You are?
I do not.
Okay. Well, it is the top of the hour.
We are wrapping it up.
I covered as much as I could. Bless God. And got a ton more here.
We talked about a lot of things today.
We did.
We covered all sorts of things.
Yeah. You know, I probably should have had
the church lady come in and really bring the word, because I didn't feel like true exhortation was taking place today. I feel like, he's talking about the mental, and the emotional psychobabble. But what you need a prophetic word from me to tell y'all, get it together. Okay, this is really the common denominator of everything that's going on, is get over it, get it together, and move on. Thus says the Lord. Thank you.
That's my intrusive thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways,
so good.
This is great.
Oops, sorry.
Loved being with you all today. I look forward. Hopefully I'll have some stuff I'll post this week for new material, and hopefully I'll have some updates on the book coming out. My love, it's been great.
It has. I appreciate everyone hanging out with us today.
Yeah.
It's always a blessing.
It was.
Thank you to Rumble. Thank you to Facebook.
Right on. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's do this. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. This is your brother from another mother.
And your sister from another mister.
Saying we'll be back with more insights for your healing and freedom journey. But in the meantime,
We out.